Hello fans, Lloyd Albritton here. Thanks for visiting me here once again for my Lloyd Albritton commentaries and stories here on my YouTube channel entitled Lloyd's Commentaries and Stories, and a sister channel called Lloyd and Friends. Interesting conversations with interesting people. I hope you'll visit some of it, and when you do, don't forget to share it with your friends. You may not like it so good, but who knows? If you share it with your friends, there might be 2 or 3 of them who will like it, maybe even a lot. And if they share it with their friends and so forth and so on, it compounds, and after a while I've just got millions and millions of folks out there hanging on my every word. Then, well, naturally I'll be famous. And, if every one of those people could send me just $1, well, okay, don't worry about that part of it. We'll get to that later. But anyway, don't forget to share it with your friends, and don't forget to like it. That way I know that you're out there and everything's not just totally silent for me. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because that way, when I post something new, it'll automatically notify you and you can go in and check it out. Now, this week's commentary is entitled, My Name is Lloyd, but y'all can call me a dude. Parents usually give a lot of thought to naming a newborn baby. Some spend months laboring over the myriad possibilities, and they make their final decision only at the very last minute. Parents do their best to give each of their children a unique name that matches the child's personality and can be carried proudly for a lifetime. At least most parents do. Some obviously don't. In fact, I've known people with names which could not have been given much thought at all. For example, I wonder what Mr. and Mrs. Carey were thinking when they named their baby boy Harry. And what about boxer George Foreman, who named each of his 6 sons George and one of his 6 daughters Georgette? Others seem to overthink the matter, desiring to give their children names that are maybe a little too unique. Unique is fine, but who wants to go through life with a name like Algonquin or Aloysius? People often don't like the names their parents give them, and they adopt nicknames or even entirely different names. For example, Algonquin or Aloysius would almost certainly become known as Al. James always becomes Jim, and Robert goes by Bob. Charles is Chuck, John is Jack, and for some strange reason, Henry becomes Hank. Go figure. Then there are those who are commonly known by pet nicknames which have no relationship to their real names at all. My father's name was Marion Howard, but the world knew him as Bud. Little boys have long been summoned by their parents by the pet name of Bud or Buddy, and it sticks for life. Younger siblings sometimes refer to an older brother as Bubba, my big Bubba. Boys with colorful personalities are sometimes called Hotshot or Buckshot by their parents and friends. My father often called me Slick when I was a child, and continued doing so into my adulthood. My old friend Clayton Hall came to be known as Flash by his business associates because of his flashy attire and gaudy jewelry, and his long black hair, which resembled the personality of maybe a professional wrestler. The children in Clayton's weekly Sunday school class called him Uncle Bo. I get a kick out of twins' names, too, as if it isn't enough that these children have to go through life looking alike and sharing everything. Many parents also give them cute matching names. I went to school with a couple of fellas who were identical twins. Their names were Ronnie and Donnie. Nobody could tell them apart, so everybody just called them Ronnie and Donnie. Each one of them called him Ronnie and Donnie, no matter which one they were talking to. Many years after high school, I bumped into Ronnie and Donnie. Actually, it was just one of them. And we visited for a spell and laughed and talked about our good old high school days. I never could tell you fellas apart, I said to Ronnie and Donnie after a little visit. I never knew which one of you was Ronnie and which one was Donnie. Ronnie and Donnie laughed and replied, "You know something, Lloyd? That was always a problem for us. In fact, after we got grown, we both decided to change our names." "Really?" I asked. "What did you change your names to?" "Joe and Jerry," Ronnie and Donnie replied. In America, it's traditional to give our children two front names, two given names, first name and a middle name. I suppose this practice is intended to improve identification and record keeping. If we consider three little boys, each one of them named Billy, for example, it's helpful to know that one is Billy Bob, and another is Billy Jack, and the third one is Billy Ray. The fact that we have about 1 billion Billy Rays in America might indicate that there are lots of people out there who just don't really get what we're trying to do with that. Girls are traditionally given only one first name because when a girl later marries, she takes her husband's last name and her new surname. She takes her husband's last name as her new surname and adopts her maiden name as her middle name. Adopts her maiden name as her middle name. You got that? Okay, I hope so, because a lot of people don't. That's why we keep on naming our daughters Mary Ann, Peggy Sue, Sarah Beth, and so on, creating the dilemma of what to do with the extra name when the girl gets married. To complicate matters further, girls are often called by their middle names during childhood by parents and school friends, which becomes the primary name they become known by in their youth. Then, when girls become adults and begin to write their full names as a signature, new friends and acquaintances start calling them by their first names, leaving our poor little girls ever confused about who they are. The same thing happens to the boys as well. When he was young, my cousin Eddie Leon was known as Leon. In his later years, though, after he became a person of some importance in the world, Leon became commonly known as Eddie. Another of my cousins, his name was James Edward, and he was called Eddie by his family and friends during his youth, but later when he got grown, he became Jim. And of course, there's my old friend Wendell, who's now a retired attorney and is known by all the world as Jesse. We never heard Jesse when we were growing up. And on and on and on. I used to have lots of friends and relatives, but nowadays I hardly know who anyone is anymore. For that matter, I've never liked my own name too much either. My middle name is Clark, and I don't like that name any better than I like Lloyd. There's not much one can do to jive up a name like Lloyd Clark. I always wanted to be a Jimmy or a Bobby or a Tommy or a Johnny, but I just can't seem to get there from Lloyd Clark. I grew a pencil mustache one time after I got grown, and people started calling me Slick, like my father did when I was a boy. But I didn't like that name too much either. Still, I wish I had a nickname that was a little bit more cosmopolitan than Lloyd Clark. I'm working on that, but until I come up with something better, I think it'll be all right if y'all just want to call me Dude.